Hello and welcome to episode 5 of Battleground T20. Kolkata Knight Riders start their IPL campaign today against a team who have already lost their first match, Mumbai Indians. The match will be played in Abu Dhabi. My name is Arnab. We will be building towards that match. But before that, let's take a look back and review the match which was played last evening between Chennai Super Kings and Rajasthan Royals in Sharjah. To take the conversation forward, let me welcome my colleague Rasesh Mandani. Rasesh, we can call it an upset because of the way CSK have dominated Rajasthan Royals over the years. It was a 14-7 head-to-head, but Rajasthan Royals managed to out-hit CSK yesterday in Sharjah. What an innings by Sanju Samson. Steve Smith will talk about all of that. 33 sixes hit in that match, the most in an IPL encounter. But let's start by talking about Sanju Samson. What an innings. He mentioned in the mid-match conversation with the commentators that the wicket wasn't easy. It wasn't coming onto the bat, but the way he cleanly hit those 9 sixes that he did, it seemed like he was batting on a different wicket, perhaps.
Yes, one of the cleanest strikers we have. We picked him in one of our picks, so we got something right. Yes, Samson. The thing is, I think it was 9 sixes and 1 4, if I'm not wrong. So he pretty much sort of assessed the conditions. If it was within his range, then he sort of decided to go for it. And it's now clear, the likes of a Samson, Shubman Gill, who's going to come in today, and Prithvi Shaw, and all of these who sort of been in the radar. They've got opportunities traveling with the Indian team, not got as many opportunities. For them, this could be a defining IPL where they'll sort of stake their claim, and it will be a little sort of mini battle between them as well. Superb clean hitting by Samson. In fact, phases very sort of outperformed Steve Smith, and an innings that he will remember. Innings that will remember because it's the one that helped his team out-battle the opposition as far as the battle of the whole sixes is concerned. It also told us, Arnab, that we'll see a lot of these big hitting in Sharjah as well. So there's going to be a clear pattern, certain kind of playing combinations in Sharjah and certain kind of playing combinations in Abu Dhabi and Dubai.
Right. It was also a tale of two captains. One captain who wanted to take the responsibility came out and opened the batting. Steve Smith, we haven't really seen him open the batting, so we'll talk about that. And another captain who went down and down and down and came in at number 7, a logic that nobody really understands. Neither did the commentators yesterday. He hit those 3 sixes, Mahendra Singh Dhoni, at the end of the match, which pretty much showed that he still has the ability to clear the boundary at will. But the margin at the end, just 16 runs, and the way they batted in the middle over, just going for singles, even Faf, I was a little baffled. It was a bizarre sort of a chase. But let's talk about Steve Smith first. 69 golden runs for his team. Looked absolutely at ease, managed the innings really well.
Yes, Steve Smith looked in charge. He sort of decided to play anchor once he realized that Samson was hitting, he was getting his hitting range going. And so there was no point in sort of trying to be a hero. So he found his space, played the anchor and was there throughout and helped his team go through over 200. And then, of course, that final over of Jofra Archer towards the end made the difference as well. That sort of, perhaps that psychologically that demoralized CSK completely. But that's not how chases are approached. When we'll come to Dhoni, I mean, the thing is, I'll just throw in some numbers. When it's understandable that Sam Curran was promoted because he had got some hits going and he came in ahead of Dhoni. Dhoni hadn't quite perhaps in his mind warmed up to the occasion. But after Curran was dismissed, they were about 11 overs to go, and they needed a little bit more than 10, 11 runs per over, which was perhaps the kind of situation where Dhoni could have given himself a little bit of time, allowed Faf to go for it, and then try and hit those sixes. He waited. He sort of pushed in someone like a Ruturaj Gaikwad. After that, Kedar Jadhav came in, and then Dhoni came in. And Dhoni later told that he thought he hasn't played for a while. But then even Gaikwad hadn't played for a while. Even after that, who came in after Gaikwad?
Jadeja came in.
Jadeja came in. So all these Indian batsmen.
Nobody has played. Nobody has really played. Nobody has really had a great hit. Yeah.
Absolutely. So, that's why you're not the only one who's baffled by that decision of Dhoni to sort of keep himself to bat at number 7. It's sort of, he has it in his mind that he should come in once 12 over mark is done with. But in the such sort of straight-jacketed decision making in this format doesn't always work. And, that's something that perhaps cost them the catch. I mean, it was always going to be a difficult chase, so there's no denying that. But they perhaps didn't give themselves the best opportunity to chase that total down. And then that incident, I mean, I couldn't understand. Seven balls to go and 38 to get. I mean, mathematically it is possible. Jadeja lets it go like a good, test match leave. That
Yeah.
is sort of defies our understanding, because I mean, hope if we would have got a six there, 32 of the final six balls, who knows? Dhoni might have found his range. Strange things happen. No ball. I mean, Ngidi bowled that long
Yeah.
over. Who knows? Perhaps Tom Curran could have been under the pump as well. So it was a very strange and weird chase by CSK.
And this is not really the first time that we have seen this from CSK. I mean, we understand that it's pretty much a fiefdom for MS Dhoni as far as CSK is concerned. He can decide to do whatever he wants. But then the reason that he gave in the post match was that they want to try out new players. They haven't tried out certain things for a very long time. So is this IPL season being treated as a season where they try out things, where they are not concerned about the results and they prepare for the future? I mean, what is it?
Yeah, I mean, I think obviously what they were trying to tell us, what Dhoni was trying to say is that they look at it as, I mean, they look at themselves as a favorite for the playoffs, and they perhaps are trying to, they are trying to try out a few combinations, but they clearly given up on. I mean, you don't do it at the cost of a win and a loss. That's
Right.
not the way sport is played. So that was quite strange. I mean, we can understand if you're lost, if you're more or less qualified, and then you're experimenting. But this was quite strange, and it also perhaps indicated Dhoni's perhaps lack of confidence in his abilities at this stage. That he perhaps believes he needs a little bit more time to get in, and he thought that this sort of with the asking rate moving up, that would be counterproductive. But he himself would have realized, perhaps with the sort of range that he found in the final over, that for a man of his experience, it does come, but he just needs to give himself the best possible opportunity to get going, which he perhaps missed out on yesterday.
Right. Let's touch upon a little bit about the CSK bowling yesterday. Uh, do you see Piyush Chawla continuing? It is one bad day, perhaps, but then Imran Tahir waiting in the wings. Do you see Imran Tahir being given more opportunities as CSK play the matches in Abu Dhabi and Dubai? Because clearly Sharjah is a wicket where, and of course, the size of the ground makes it very clear that there's going to be a pattern. People are going to go after slower bowlers and they will back themselves to clear the boundaries. But moving ahead, do you see Imran Tahir coming in somewhere?
Yes, losses sometimes force you to reflect, and perhaps CSK will think over it, because they'll obviously have to weigh in that whole overseas player equation. So perhaps with Ngidi going for runs, if he's short of confidence, do they bring in another Indian seamer in a Shardul Thakur and then bring in a Tahir for a Chawla is something that they will most definitely think over. But then they'll think over who the next opposition is, the conditions and the matchups and all of that. So, but I'm sure, I mean, I don't see Tahir sort of warming the bench for too long. At some stage, you expect him to come in.
You expect Tahir to come in, but the result really spices things up. We've got 3 or 4 teams now with a victory under their belt. So good start in terms of keeping the points table engaged. Now moving on to the match which will be played today in Abu Dhabi. Kolkata Knight Riders versus Mumbai Indians. Abu Dhabi is the base for both these teams, and KKR start their campaign. We will look forward in our first segment called the Battle. And let's reflect upon the numbers a little bit. This has been a one-sided affair completely, Rasesh. 19-6 in favor of Mumbai Indians pretty much shows the kind of domination they've had over KKR. Yes, KKR have been twice champions of IPL, but then in this contest, they have never really had any chance. So what do you think today? Do you see the inclusion of Pat Cummins and Owen Morgan perhaps helping KKR's balance, and perhaps they'll be able to pose some challenge in front of the Mumbai Indians?
Yeah, you're clearly wearing the purple. So, but I don't know. I mean, it's a very strange numbers. Those. I mean, no team has sort of dominated the other so much, and in
So
IPL,
much.
more or less, the teams are evenly balanced. So, that's
Right.
quite strange, and something that the KKR would want to correct, I'm sure. Yes, I think they've got a
Yeah.
good squad, and going. MI will have the advantage that they've got one game under the belt, so knowing conditions and all of that. But like you mentioned, both the team have got the bases in Abu Dhabi, so they would have had look at the center wicket over a period of time. So they would know that they've got a good balance going. I mean, they understand T20 cricket very well. KKR. They were the sort of team that began with that Narain experiment at the top of the order, and it worked for them. And they've got the two batsmen with the biggest strike rates in IPL history, and Andre Russell and Sunil Narain. So,
Right.
it's a team which doesn't have famous Indian players, but it's a team which understands the format very well. So I expect it to be a close game. It's an exciting matchup, a lot of exciting matchups, a lot of battles of power hitters with Narain and Pollard and Russell and Hardik Pandya. So it should be an exciting battle in that sense.
There's a constant chatter about KKR and the leadership there ever since Dinesh Karthik became the captain. Unfortunately for the man, he's surrounded by heavyweight international players who have had experience of either leading their teams or being part of the senior leadership group. So I don't remember exactly which ex-cricketer mentioned recently that if KKR are not off to a good start, perhaps Ian Morgan might take over from DK as the captain. Do you think this kind of conversation sits well ahead of a tournament?
But I do think that's the word from the KKR camp, Arnab, and that's the thing. This franchisee sort of is not as short-sighted and as some of the other franchises are, like a Kings 11 Punjab, for example, or a Rajasthan Royals, which sort of got rid of Ajinkya Rahane and brought in a Steve Smith. They invest in a player, they invest in a team, they believe in a little bit more continuity. So that sense they've got things covered. But obviously, when you got someone of Morgan's the smart
Repertoire.
skills that he has
Yeah.
and the way he's sort of been able to deliver for England, there'll always be that temptation to look at that option. But then some of the teams believe in investing in Indian captain A for branding. I mean, Dinesh Karthik isn't the biggest of names, but the thing is that the other factor is of him being able to manage the Indian players well. Remember, 7 in the 11 are
Right.
Indians, so that's a factor that a lot of teams look at. So I'll be surprised if Karthik's sort of head is on the block very quickly, and then hopefully it's been able to create the kind of rapport that they claim to have between the two of them.
All right, then. Let's talk a little bit about the addition that they have made in their fast bowling arsenal. Pat Cummins, he comes in. A lot of expectations on him because of the price tag, of course, and he scored, picked up 15 wickets last season. So, your views on Cummins?
Yeah, Cummins in a normal Indian conditions, I mean, not necessarily the pick of the bowlers, but I mean, there's an interesting point that Trent Bolt made the other day. He said good test match lengths work. In fact, that's something I think Brendan McCullum said. Good test match lengths works in these conditions. He was obviously talking about Dubai and Abu Dhabi, not Sharjah. So if that is the case, then someone like Cummins would sort of be an asset. And remember how Saini bowled. I mean, he didn't necessarily look to hold Yorkers all the time. He bowled good lengths, just a little bit of movement, and that can be tricky for some batsmen. So yes, Cummins also comes in with that whole price tag. So how he deals with that will be interesting as well. The whole of Australia will be watching, I'm sure, of how he deals with this in IPL. But yeah, I mean, because these conditions are a little different, the likes of more traditional bowlers even may come to the party, at least the initial part of the tournament.
Right, and remember in the build-up to the IPL, when the indecision was there about whether the World Cup, T20 World Cup would go on or not, a lot of former Australian cricketers bashed the IPL for being a money-making machine. And Pat Cummins was one of the few Australians who spoke up and said that no, we need IPL to happen. So a lot of Australians will be looking at how he performs. One quick assessment from you about the Mumbai Indians squad. No panic situation yet, but then Trent Bolt really hasn't looked a part of a T20 team in IPL. He struggled before. His overall economy is close to 9. Any news on Mitchell McClenaghan? Because he's a tried and tested player, but is he unfit or is he not up to the mark? What is the scene? Do you see McClenaghan coming in at some point of time if Bolt doesn't fire?
Yeah, I mean, I thought they would have gone in with McClenaghan to start with ahead of Bolt, but they've probably gone in for Bolt's experience. And now that they have, they're perhaps, I don't think they're going to make that switch that quickly. But both are options that are available. But perhaps Bolt will continue for a while. They've clearly gone in for his experience. We heard Bolt say the other day that he loves bowling to some top batsmen and he's looking forward to his battle with Andre Russell. But it is going to be some battle because getting rid of that giant of a batsman is not easy. So in that sense, this is going to be a test of everyone. It's going to be a test of Jasprit Bumrah. It's going to be a test of Hardik Pandya. So all those Mumbai Indian high-profile bowlers, they know that they will be up against it because they got some serious hitting abilities. KKR.
Right. We'll talk about Andre Russell and his ability to clear the fence in our next segment, which is called the trump card of the match. Really can't look beyond this man when it comes to the word trump card. KKR relies so much on not just his batting, but also his bowling. He's that player. He pretty much gets the team going. 186 the strike rate, monstrous ability to clear the boundary. Do you see him batting at number 3? That's the question everybody has on their minds.
Perhaps not. I mean, whether he should. I mean, it's clearly an option that any team would be tempted to go with. But I think that is an option they would exercise only if they are like chasing 200 plus, like like CSK was the other day. Otherwise, they'll probably reserve him for the final overs. There is this whole theory of a specialist batsman at the death, and they believe Russell is clearly their man. And now with them having this option of Shubman Gill, who's equally talented, not so much a hitter but a fluent stroke player, they'll probably go in with. They've got the mix they believe. And Naren, in any case, is someone who sort of takes more risks than the others. So they probably may not see the need to push Andre Russell. But wherever he's going to bat, he's going to become a force because, like you said, I mean, the biggest strike rate in T20 cricket history. And the thing is, when such batsmen get going, it can get demoralizing for the opposing bowlers. And in IPL, there is a bit of inexperience off and on because there are some sort of unknown quantities, some bowlers who don't have the same sort of experience. And if you don't always are in a position to get the right matchup going, and if Russell gets going, then those 6 balls, it almost appears as if that over is never going to get over.
Right. In my previous experience of working with the broadcaster, sometimes what you do is in the build-up of a match, you ask some of your experts to create a game plan on how to dismiss a batsman. So the most difficult used to be Andre Russell because none of the players would say that, okay, but none of the experts would put their hands up and say that we will come and give you a game plan on how to dismiss or how to stop Russell because there is no way really he can hit the Yorker. He can dig it out for a 6. You bowl him outside the off stump, he'll hit that for a 6 out over the covers. I mean, how do you bowl to this man? Is there any plan which is there to stop this guy? I mean, even change of pace doesn't work with him.
Yeah, I mean, wearing an expert's hand and attempting it's a lot easier than actually for the bowling unit to be able to do that. So, yes, I think the Mumbai Indians knows that as well. And that's a good point. And the thing is, I mean, even if your Yorker sort of errs a little bit, inch here and there, then he's got that ability to sort of, use the crease, go back in the crease and hit it away. So, that's why he's such an effective cricketer. And he's someone who focuses on this format. He knows his strengths are here. And he sort of plays in leagues around the world and does well. And he got some good runs off late as well. So, Russell will be a force.
All right. On to the next segment now. Batsmen to watch out for. And a lot of us are waiting for Shubman Gill to take over as KKR's regular opening batsman. And this is the season when they've got rid of Chris Lynn. They don't have someone like Robin Uthappa who has opened for them before. So Shubman Gill expected to open throughout the season. This could be the season where Shubman Gill finally takes claim for a place in the Indian team.
Oh yes, this is a golden opportunity for him, and he would have now probably gained a little bit of experience that helps of traveling with the Indian team for a while. That can be frustrating when you don't get opportunities, but you learn a lot. Wearing the India blues and traveling with the team around the world. We went to New Zealand as well, remember. So, Gill will believe that this is his chance. There's a lot of competition there for slots, and this could be his opportunity. In fact, that 2018, one of the seasons where they kept playing Gill down the order. Finally, when they did promote in one of the matches, he outperformed Russell as well. So, that boy's got some ability. And he does it in his own way. He doesn't necessarily have to, he plays more fluently, more sort of old-fashioned way. But he's got this range of stroke. That ability of seeing the ball just extra second early is sort of gets him all those runs that he does.
Right, and for a batsman who's played most of his career in IPL at number 5 or 6, he's got 450. So that also talks about his ability to go on in the innings and get a slightly bigger score.
Yes, so him and Naren together will be very interesting. It will get quite tricky for the opposing camps as well. And then, of course, remember, KKR always got the option of sort of promoting someone like a DK or a Russell if the match situation warrants. So, in that sense, at least on paper, KKR has got a lot of bases covered. And that's why they are perhaps a team which a lot of people believe should be contenders for playoff positions even before the IPL begins.
Right, and one player who needs to perform out of his skin for KKR to make it through to the playoffs is their big money buy. We'll talk about him in our next segment. Bowler to watch out for, Pat Cummins, 15 wickets last season, and here is a man who is being tipped to become an Australian captain in the future as well. So a great addition in terms of bolstering their pace bowling cupboard, and of course, as a man who could become a part of the think tank as well.
Yes, so I mean, regardless of the price tag, Cummins will know that he's got a bit of responsibility this time around because the other seam bowlers that they have, Prasidh Krishna and Kamlesh Nagarkoti, perhaps two, perhaps these two. So we tip 2 of these 3 to start the match in today. So he's obviously got to be the lead fast bowler in their ranks. But again, you should be excited because if the wickets have got a bit of juice, which they seem to have at least in the initial few matches that we've seen in Abu Dhabi. Then he should be in business. So yes, something to look forward to for all of us. And like you said, all of Australia will be watching.
Right, all of Australia will be watching, and there are a few key battles that a lot of us will be looking at. So let's move on to the final segment of this show, the big clash of the match. And Rasesh, you have picked Bumrah versus Russell. So you're looking at a death over battle between these two.
Yes, I mean, I've picked this up not necessarily because of any history between the two. In fact, Russell's done reasonably well even against Bumrah. I was just looking at some numbers, some 35 odd runs that he's got in 19 balls, and some of those innings that I was looking at. But the thing is, Bumrah would be hurt because bowler performer like him going for all the runs, more than 10 runs per over in the last match. So he would have come up with some new. We expect him to come up with some new plans. And this battle will more likely happen because Russell comes in down the order. Bumrah invariably bowls at the death. So we'll see this matchup at some stage, and so it would be very interesting to see how great performer and the skill sets that Bumrah has, how he comes up, what plans does he have? Does he go back up the length? Does he go slower and cutters? Does he go Yorkers? Does he go for that accuracy with his Yorker range? So that makes this whole battle interesting.
Right, I have gone in for Sunil Narine versus Pollard, and the reason for that is the way the Mumbai Indians batsmen batted in the last match. If you see another middle order collapse, if you see another innings where the Indian batsmen in the Mumbai Indians lineup are not able to assess the situation well, then Pollard will have to be key there in the middle order, because he's one man who's shown in the past that when the chips are down, he can actually go against his natural ability of trying to hit out of trouble to actually become a batsman who could graft and then take the score to a respectable level, something that he did in last year's final also.
Yeah, just a quick thing. I don't know how true it is, but I read somewhere that Narine was called during that CPL series for his bowling action. So no, I'm not saying that. I mean, then they say that he recovered. I mean, he then cleared his action. But if that thing is still sort of in his mind, that doubt is because he's had this perennial problem with his bowling action.
Yeah.
So if that is an issue which is a recurring issue, then that is something that could impact him. So we'll have to watch out on how he which Narine turns up as far as his bowling is concerned.
Right. Lots to look out for then. Great T20 talent on display today, and we will be looking at that match. We'll review that match tomorrow for all of you, and of course, look forward to the next match which comes up. Thank you very much, Rasesh, for joining in, and to all our viewers.
So you're sticking to your purple, right?
I have to stick to my purple. I am a Bengali. I have got my wife who supports KKR. So for the sake of sanity in this household, I need to support KKR today. All right, then. Thank you very much for watching. We'll come back tomorrow with episode 6 of Battleground T20.